All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Honors and salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing his word in true sincerity. Or this is the brother Tawab Bashar from GMS Los Angeles, coming back with another video in the spirit. And once again, Tawadi Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai for opening my eyes to his truth. Allowing me to wake up another day, putting the spirit on me to do another lesson. In hopes to edifying the hopeful elect. Okay, so in this video, excuse me, what I want to go into is, we gotta fight and rebuke these wicked thoughts, these evil thoughts. And this is one of the main, main battles that we deal with being in this truth is our own mind. Okay? And when I say evil thoughts, it could be anything from, those doubts that come in your mind, doubts about, not being a man of the Lord, or it could be a seducing spirit trying to get you to doubt that this truth isn't the truth, okay, that you're wasting your time or whatever. Or it could be you may have a quarrel with a brother for whatever reason. Okay, or it could be just you weighing yourself down too much, and we gotta fight that. We gotta fight that spirit, man. Okay, because of course we're all in the flesh. This flesh is wicked, man. And we gotta remember, when we get these thoughts in our mind, these scriptures give us the instructions on what to do. Okay, we have tools, okay, to combat these things, such as prayer and fasting. If you feel like you have to fast, and like I said, we all deal with this, okay, from the apostles, elders on down. All of us deal with the thoughts, these thoughts, and that's part of the journey. Okay, there's gonna be things where you're gonna feel like you've been wronged. There's gonna be situations you're gonna feel like you've been wronged, and it's gonna make you feel a certain way. Okay, or it could be a situation where you experienced a hardship, and it might have set you back. It might have put you in a real tough place, and a lot of things may have transpired to where your living situation may be altered because of that. And it could be a situation with your family. You may have a issue with certain family members, and that could be come a heavy thought on your mind. Whatever the case may be, okay, we got to fight that spirit, fight that demon, them evil, wicked thoughts, that's trying to make us become unfruitful, man. And we don't want to become unfruitful. We don't want to allow the bitterness, because it's going to be bitterness, but you don't want to be too bitter to the point where you become rotten. You know, just like a rotten fruit. One rotten fruit can spoil a bunch of fruits. You know, and we gotta be careful about that. You know, so I'm just gonna bring out a few scriptures, and Lord willing, this is edifying. Okay, this is Jeremiah chapter 17 verse 9. It says, "The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately wicked. Who can know it?" Okay, and the heart is not talking about that thing that pumps blood throughout your body. Okay, the heart is referring to the mind. Okay, and we're in the mind, we have thoughts. Okay, and like it says, the heart, which is the mind, is deceitful. Okay, your mind could have you believing in something that's not true. You can be deceived by your own thoughts, you know, and that's why the Lord gave us, certain protocols and how we're supposed to deal with certain situations. So, we don't want to rush to judgment when it comes to certain things. Okay, you don't want to make a decision before you fully examine the matter. Okay, and you also don't want to give your thoughts, entertain too much of these thoughts, because these thoughts can start to be made manifest, man. In behavior and how decisions are made. If you make decisions because you're angry about something, and you act upon that emotion, that can cause you to do something evil in the sight of the Lord, man. To where the Lord will judge you because of that. All because of that thought. And when you entertain a thought, when that thought keeps weighing on your mind, eventually, when somebody has a evil thought and they keep entertaining it, eventually that person is going to act upon that thought. It's a difference between having a thought, that's why I say we got to fight it. It's one thing to have a thought, but then when you start acting upon those thoughts, that's when that's dangerous. Okay, and that's what Jake in the world does. Jake in the world that commit adultery, they think about it in their mind before they actually do it. Okay, they might not do it right then and there. They might see a dude with his woman, and Jake will be thinking about that woman, and little by little, that woman that, Jake constantly has that woman in his mind, and he keeps thinking about that woman. Eventually, it's going to get worse. It's just, he going to think about it. Then he's going to be thinking about how she looks when she doesn't have her, her clothes on or whatever. Then he's going to picture him with her having sex. Jake start entertaining those thoughts, and then eventually Jake, will go and actually act upon that. Even when Jake murders one another and rob each other, Jake will sit there and plot, come up with ways to violate they people. Because it's all those things start from a thought. So when us brothers that's in the truth, okay, when we have these thoughts, like I said, it could be your own voice, Satan getting you to doubt this truth, man. Eventually when somebody keeps entertaining those thoughts, eventually that individual is going to become unfruitful and they're going to go back into the world. Now we know the elect is going to endure to the end, but we don't know if we're of the elect. That's why we all got to give diligence. We all got to fight, man. We can't have this mentality as if we know we gonna make it. We don't know that. We got to do everything that's within our power, within our might, okay, to fight for our crown, man. Okay. All right, I got another one. This is Luke chapter 6, verse 45. It says, "A good man out of the good treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is good, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is evil, for of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaketh." Right. So a good man can only bring good, but it says an evil man, okay, because like I mentioned, these just our people in the world, all this evil shit that they do, it starts in the mind, okay, and like it says, out of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaketh. So wherever is in your mind, which is the heart, it's going to come out the mouth. Like when somebody has hatred towards someone, it's no secret, okay? When somebody doesn't what's the word? If somebody doesn't it's not too fun to somebody, some people can this is referring to an individual that's, like I was saying, they'll have an evil thought and they actually act upon that thought. It's one thing that, because you have people out there, they may not like a certain individual, they'll just separate themselves. They won't come around that person and whatnot. But then you got people out there, they have extreme hatred towards someone to where they'll plot evil towards that person and actually act upon that. Okay? And we don't want to be that individual, man. Okay? And I'm just speaking in general, Like I said, it could be any thought that's counterproductive in the spirit, man. Because that's what really all those things equal. It equals counterproduction, man. Because there's no good fruit that's gonna come out of that. That's why this truth is referred to as a fight, man. We gotta fight. Sometimes you gotta, where you gotta, you could break bread, fellowship with brothers, talk to brothers, or sometimes you gotta, all the time you gotta praise the Lord. That's first and foremost. But sometimes you gotta fast, man. Certain things that weigh heavily on your mind. Every brother is different. Wherever thoughts brothers battle, demons brothers got to battle in their mind, it varies from brother to brother. But wherever that heavy thought is, we gotta fight that shit, man. Matter of fact, let me get that in the Apocrypha, because it speaks about the heavy thoughts that we have, those mortal thoughts. Give me 1 second, because I know brothers deal with this, man. We all deal with this. And it's nothing to be ashamed about, because, this is part of the walk. This is 2nd Ezra, chapter 14. And 14, it says, let go from the mortal thoughts. Cast away the burdens of man. Put off now the weak nature. Right. So we supposed to let go of these mortal thoughts. Cast away these burdens, man. Okay. So that's part of it, that these are our own mind, our own mind fucking with us. That's part of the mortal thoughts, constantly over worrying and about things that can also cause us to have a evil heart, an evil mind. Okay, when you constantly worrying to the point, like, because what happens is that creates doubt. When you constantly, of course, naturally, we're in the flesh, but we don't want to do it to the point where, we doubting, because what does it say in Hebrews, man? Without faith, it's impossible to please the Lord, man. Okay? So we got to have faith, man, at the end of the day. A lot of things happen that we may not understand, in the moment, but we just got to trust in the Lord, man. Okay? You guys got we just got to trust in Yahweh Shem Yahushai, because Yahweh Shem Yahushai is the one that's trying us, man. He's the one the Lord is putting us all through this test, okay? The Lord knows what he's doing, okay? And, having these thoughts, the Lord knows that we're going to have these thoughts. The Lord knows, there's times we're going to seem weak. That's the time to pray to the Lord. That's the time to really seek the Lord. That's the time to really, even though that's what we're doing, but what I mean is, that's the time to really lean upon the Lord, man. Okay? To get that, because the scriptures is what gives us that reassurance, man. The scriptures is what gives us the comfort. That's why for brothers out there, man, it's important to read, getting these scriptures, man. Stay in these scriptures, because the scriptures this is like our spiritual GPS. Okay, when we get off track, when we get off center, the scriptures is what realigns us, man, recenters us. Okay, because we're supposed to be thinking according to the scriptures. We're not supposed to be thinking according to this world. And that's another reason why, these thoughts we deal with is when you start, thinking along the lines of this world, man. But when you start thinking along the lines of the scriptures, okay, you won't feel so bad about certain situations, because this is hell anyway. Okay, we're not here to, the prosper here, man. Okay, this is captivity. We always got to remember that. Okay, so this Bible, this is our spiritual navigation. This is our spiritual GPS. Okay, or I'm gonna read it again. This is back in 2nd Ezra, chapter 14, verse 14. Let go from the mortal thoughts. Cast away the burdens of man. Put off now the weak nature, and set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto thee, and haste thee to flee from these times. You see that? Set aside these thoughts, man. Okay? Because at the end of the day, this situation that we're in is temporal. All the hell we catch, all the shit that we dealing with right now is temporal. It's only for a season, even though it seems like eternity. But to the Lord, this is just a small season. This is not forever. But of course, you know, we're in the flesh, you know. None of us is perfect, you know. I'm not sitting up here speaking as if I don't deal with this. I deal with this all the time, you know. But this is something we all got to be mindful of, you know. Not to be getting caught too much into these giving too much into these thoughts, man. Entertaining these thoughts. Okay? So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. That's all I wanted to bring out. Like I said, Lord willing, this was edifying to you brothers out there. Y'all brothers out there, stay strong, man. Keep fighting, as well as you few sisters as well. You know, may Yahweh Shemi Shai keep you all, man. And Lord willing, we all enduring to the end. So with that, I'm going to give all glory and praises to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem HaKodash, the honors to the apostles, and the elders of Great Millstone, honors and salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing his word in true sincerity. Shalom.